We are good on both. All right, so today we've got TDM over here and KLC there with Kat. I leave my name as TDM in the recordings, but I'm Maria, everybody, for those of you who are new, and then Kat.
I am Katarzyna. Hi, from KLC. Yay.
And so we are coming together in the third podcast of our series of TDM KLC, doing podcasts on contracting and consulting for our audience and all the important topics that we like to discuss, things that are not widely spoken about, and then also just some tips from us from our points of expertise and experience to help you guys along. And so the latter is what we're going to focus on today. Today we are talking about how do you get started as a contractor. So let's hop right into it.
Yay, excellent. So how do you get started as a contractor? Well, first, I guess you got to identify yourself as a contractor, right?
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yes, babies.
I think you'll agree, right? You have to know that you want to be a contractor. You have to define what type of contractor you are. You need to, I would say, do market research based on what you are pursuing. So if you are working as a service provider with contractor with private organizations, you want to figure out what your niche is, right?
Right.
I know you've had a lot of experience with the niche, the sectors in that area, right?
Yes, it is very important to identify yourself. And that would be the first thing I would start out with too. Who are you? What do you want to do? A lot of people like to create dream boards, visual aids to decide where they're going to go with their next step, what's going to be next for them. Lists are great. I'm a fan of lists. I love to use OneNote, which is a Microsoft application. Notebooks that looks like that. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the app itself is that app there.
Awesome.
It's just an app and it's a notebook, and you can use it as your diary, an electronic diary, your electronic task manager, your lists. There's so many uses for it. So when I'm like brainstorming, I defer to that immediately. But whatever you choose, write out your qualities, what you want to do, and then start narrowing down from there. Decide what your areas of expertise are, what you want to become an expert in, because we're all always growing. We're never stagnant and staying the same from one year to the next. And then what you want to offer people. And that should relate to your why. Why do you even want to become an entrepreneur or a contractor? What do you want to offer and what do you want to gain from it? And from there, you can start to narrow in your expertise, because that is going to be your brand. That's what you're presenting to the world, not just yourself, but what you're doing. That's going to become your cover face.
Right. That is the key. You need to get into that, and that's going to take a little bit for you to actually organize your thoughts, do the research, and figure all of that out. But you got to take action on it. You got to jump right in there, do that market research, and figure out what you're doing. I'm having an echo in my ear.
I tried to work on that on my end. It is, we are through this whole thing doing Instagram Live and recording for LinkedIn. We're trying to figure out how to get the audio with multiple devices.
Maybe one of these days we'll be lucky and do one of these podcasts in person. That would be fun.
Yeah, then we won't have to worry about, there won't be any echo. But sorry guys, if there's any feedback, we are trying to work on that. I know last time was a little bit worse than this time, so we're getting there. I mean,
yeah.
Is it constant for you? Because I don't always hear it.
No, it's much better right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of in and out, so we're getting there. We're not tech experts, so that is not, audio technology is we're growing in that area.
Yeah, we'll get there. That's a niche that probably somebody is very good at and might want to start working on and getting their business together on. So what do you do? So we've been talking about getting the research done, figuring out what your niche is really. And niche is a fun word. It's just cute, I would say. It's the target area for your
Niche.
site. Yeah.
Oh, we just had someone join.
Oh, awesome. Hi.
Hello.
So
Okay, we're niche, so hashtag niche, guys.
hashtag niche. So target areas for you. So you want financing, for example, or construction, technology, any type of industry, legal, medical. What is it that medical is called now? Life science, or what is it, Maria?
Yeah, so my niche for this, well, Kat and I both have a few niches, but we'll just focus on one. So for my end, Kat will get into hers, hopefully, right? You'll let them know what your main niche is for today. We're going to just focus on one. So for me, mine is linguistics for the point of this conversation, and that's what TDM specializes in, linguistics and AI, computational linguistics. And medicine has moved into the field of life sciences, which is all the more appropriate now because pharmaceuticals and medicine have become a big happy family during the corona pandemic because they've had to work hand in hand in administering not only the vaccines but also the tests. And so things like that are normally pharmaceuticals, and then any treatment or clinical aid is considered medical practice. And so it's become one lump industry that we call life sciences. There are a bunch of subsects. I think you'll find when you're looking for your niche, and you can tell me how this applies for you, Kat, but when you're looking for your niche, if you start with a large general industry, say finance or construction or life sciences or law, the breakdown is endless. I mean, what kind of law, what kind of life science? Is it chemistry? Is it medical practice? I mean, what do you do on a daily basis and what do you want to do? So that goes back to like knowing yourself and this list of like, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And so your niche can become very specific, but sometimes it isn't right away. Like mine was not initially just computational linguistics, translation and AI. I had to break that down, and that actually happened over a couple of years. What about you, Kat?
It's the same thing. Like you get an idea of what your big niche is, and then you narrow it down, just like you said. And it's gonna take time because you want to see what you're good at, where your target audience is. You want to test the waters basically, and figure out what you're doing. So some people know right away, some people don't. So it just depends on the person. It depends on what you're doing. I know I'm being very general, but literally that's what it is.
Yeah,
You have to test it out. You can say you're a service provider, you're in contracting, but there are so many different types of contracting out there. So that's when you narrow it down to what you are good at. So you have to find your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, strengths and weaknesses. Yes, look at that. Do your market research. Okay. Check the trends. Check what other companies are doing right now that's similar to what you are actually wanting to do. They might already have done something, and then this is going to help you actually narrow down your niche because you see what they're doing and focusing on, and you're going to take it to the next level or the next step and be like, oh yeah, they missed this part. I'm going to get into real estate, but I'm going to focus on these little cabins in the woods, So
a great example.
So it's very important for you to do your market research, look at your competitors. And this is all research. Everything is being done before you actually start doing your business, right? You might be getting, you might be talking to people, might be educating yourself, maybe building some kind of a clientele somehow, but you're not officially a business yet, right? So at that point, when you're ready, that's when you have to commit. I think that is the key.
Mhm.
You have to commit to doing a business, doing what you want with contracting.
Mhm.
You have to commit to following through,
Mhm.
and you have to welcome the fear. It's going to be scary.
Yeah.
So those are, so we're giving you examples of what to look for online and in your research, and we're also telling you about stuff that you actually internally need to understand.
Yeah.
So commitment, follow through, and welcome the fear.
I love it. Here's a big one. Don't be afraid to be afraid. And
Right? I gotta put
don't
that on my wall.
don't be afraid to be afraid. I'm gonna make that sign for you. And don't be afraid to work through your fear. If you avoid your fear, it's only gonna get worse and it becomes paralyzing.
Right. And this whole fear thing incorporates your support group, which you think you have a support group. You need to understand who is actually supporting you. You
Yeah.
have family members, you have friends, but who is actually there? Who's paying attention? Who is giving you the good job, well done type of thing, and pushing you forward?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people out there that don't care. They don't care
Yeah.
about your progress. Uh, I think
You
people
guys, it's true.
care about failure.
Mhm.
They don't care about success, and you need to have people that will push you forward when you get into that downward slump, because that's what's going to happen when you start your business. You're going to have a up and down slope. So get the nausea medication. Yeah.
Yeah. Get the nausea, get the water, get the soda, get the
Oh
glass of
yeah,
wine.
hydrate.
Yeah, really, taking care of yourself is going to be imperative in this kind of a journey, in
And
any
the
journey.
hours. So I bet that a lot of our viewers are go online and they might Google these things, right? You're gonna go on the website and you're gonna be like, what are some tips for starting a business? And you're gonna get a bunch of stuff. And they're gonna say, write a business plan. They're gonna
Mhm.
say, register your domain. Go to the state website and do your or articles of organization, do
Yeah,
all of that stuff.
all that
That's not in
incorporation.
order.
No.
None of it is in order. So you need to be talking to people that are actually doing it or have gone through it, so you can get some examples. And the more people you speak to, the better. The stuff that you find online that's general is that it's just general.
Yeah, it's a guide. And I think your process has to be individualized by what you've decided that you want to do. And this goes back to whatever visual you've created, whether it's the list, whether it's OneNote, the notebook that I showed you guys earlier, or if it's a visual board or whatever you choose to organize your thoughts, you constantly need to go back to that and keep revising it, reviewing it, and making it relevant to now where you are as you make your progress. And that's something that's going to be a constant growth process, and you don't want to shy away from that. You want to stay on top of your own process so that what you are reading, all the things that Kat mentioned, doesn't become this flood of information that you can't process. Because that's, if you're not organized, nobody's going to be able to organize you. They can give you all the tips in the world. It's like reading, it's like going to school. None of that matters. Any schooling or education or even this talk, it doesn't matter if you don't know how to then apply it. So, sometimes it is going to be strangers that help you more than those closest to you. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with building a network and branching out, because you don't know what you need until you need it, right? So
Exactly.
don't assume that like you have to stick with what you have, what you know. This is all part of that journey. This is part of not being afraid to be afraid and step.
I like that. And I think that might transition right into branding, like how to
Yeah,
brand yourself,
yeah.
Maria.
Branding is huge. So let's say we've moved past what we want to do. We have an idea of who we are, and let's use Kat. Can we use you for an example?
Sure. Hi, I'm an example.
Yes. Yeah. So Kat's going to be the example. So Clifton Lark Consulting is the name of her company. If you guys don't know about it yet, go to her LinkedIn, check it out on our Instagram. You can learn all about it. But in a nutshell, if we had to give a quick, 10-second rundown, how would you summarize what Clifton Lark does?
I help businesses start their business.
Yes. So if we had to put that in a category, is it correct to say, can we put that under, say, business development? You're a business development consultant or marketing
Yes,
consultant?
that would be the closest association.
Business
Yeah.
development. Okay. So these are all questions I'm asking her as if I don't know, but I know. But these are the questions that you want to be able to answer for someone else, because people don't take time, and in general, we don't have time because we don't take the time. So that elevator pitch, that 30-second pitch, that 11-second tagline that you want to give to someone, or that nowadays we're just reading on your social media branding, your online branding, which is the first place people are going to see you. You guys can go back to our podcast from last week where we talked about LinkedIn as the first meet. Online presence is the first presence you get nowadays before the visual in-person presence, unless you're at a grocery store or you're out and about and you happen to meet someone that way. During the pandemic, it became more that your online presence is your first meet. So we said that Clifton Lark is business development. We're going to categorize it as a business development place. So how would we brand that? How do you bring that across to people? First of all, you want to make sure that they know, that you could easily say that, oh, well, are you a marketing consultant? Are you a social media consultant? You help people start their businesses. So the audience, you want to make sure that people know exactly what you are. And Kat said the best way to describe her is business development. She helps businesses start their business. She helps people get off the ground, the very name of this Vodcast. So how do you make that come across? If you go to your Instagrams, the first thing you want to do is start with I would say, whatever you want to show yourself as to the world, that should be apparent on your website. And whatever's on your website should be apparent in a nutshell version on your social media. So I'm just going to quickly pull up my social media and just show you where you want to make this immediately visible to the eye when people go to your profile. So at the top of your profile, if you guys can see that, I'm not sure if it's clear, you have space to identify who you are and what you do.
So that's kind of like your mini mission statement.
Yeah, it's your mini mission statement. And under your name, if you go into your Instagram settings, you have the option to basically change yourself from a personal page to a business page, which you want to do. And you have all of these tools here. You want to pick what category you fall under. So I'm a contractor, but we're using Kat as an example. So under her name, she would have business development or something. Instagram doesn't always have the exact name that fits you, but you want to find the closest thing to what you described. So Kat has described that she is business development. So if Instagram has that, I'm not going to look really right now, but if they have that, that's what you pick. If they don't, you pick the closest thing to that. And then if they didn't have business development, you would go into the profile section and you would make that apparent that you help businesses start their business. You are the business development consultant. And in this space is where you want to do that.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that that's clear. Don't make it personal. Don't make your personal Instagram the same as your business Instagram. If you're starting, create a totally separate Instagram. You want to do the same for your LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn, you also want to make sure that your professional personal page has a tag to your business page. So you can create a page that you manage. You can see here that I have my own. So you can create a page, and that becomes your company page, and your company profile is going to look the same as your Instagram. You want your social media to be uniform, and people should be able to see, like Kat said, in a nutshell, right there, that's who you are. So if we're using Kat as an example, the first thing we should take away from seeing, if this were Clifton Lark, if it's a Clifton Lark, I should have gone to Kat's page.
Well, it's the same thing. Yeah, go to Trans Del Mar.
It's the same, but so for the sake of this example, like either myself or Kat, we want to make sure that who we are, and just going back to Kat, like the first thing I want to take away from either of the pages that I go to for her LinkedIn, her Instagram, they look like her website if I've gone to her website. If not, I can go to her website from her LinkedIn or her Instagram or her Twitter even, and that I know immediately what she does. Don't confuse people. Don't make them look. Don't make them search. People need to get that takeaway. If you're looking for obscurity or maybe, being coy or being playful with the audience, leave that for your personal page. Your business page, you want to make sure that that is very in your face, very obvious what you're doing, but make it concise. You don't have a lot of character space, so you can't type an entire paragraph. You definitely can't be as lengthy as I'm being right now. You want to bring that down in
Well,
a nutshell.
that's what brings people in to get a
Yeah.
conversation.
Exactly. So that's what you want to start with your branding. And then from there, you can decide for yourself. I would say this, a lot of people go and look at what other people have done, and then they'll go from there in terms of deciding what they're going to do. What are we going to look like? What's my logo going to look like? What kind of colors do I want to use? What kind of words do I want to use? I prefer to go the opposite way, and here's why. If you start with what everyone else has done, you're largely influenced by what everyone else has done. But if you start with yourself, if you go back to your list, back to your either your OneNote, your electronic diary, your list, your organization board, your dream board, your visual aid, your whiteboard, whatever you're using to build out this dream, this journey of yours, and you're now at the branding stage, you should still have that available to go back and revise it. You want to go back there and decide for yourself who you are. Because if everyone else is influencing who you are, you essentially just become pieces of everyone else. And I think in terms of your competition, you want to be true to yourself first, because you should be the first reason you got into this, whether it's you want to help people or you want to achieve a goal. It's you. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with Kat. It's our own individual selves. And you want to know who that is before you let others influence you. So I like to take the opposite approach. I write out everything that's in my head. And then if it doesn't make sense, or if there's just too much there, or if it sounds like, this long dialogue, but I want to bring it down into a nutshell, then I can look at what other people are doing and glean from that what I can add into what I already have. So, that's up to you whether you want to take my approach or start with what other people have done first. But I would strongly advise start with yourself.
Yeah,
Something is here first. Everything starts with you before you can put it out into the world.
that is brilliant. That is beautiful advice. That is beautiful advice. And just to add to what you're saying with the branding, so I'm actually working on my logo. I'm trying to figure it out. And you don't have to get a logo right away. You can just do something simple and just put it out there. So you have an identifier. And as you're
I
growing,
really like yours on Instagram. I love the background. I love that you use pink. I love that you didn't shy away from
why would I?
a lot of people do that. So this is who Kat is. She is very sunshiny, very happy, very colorful. And a lot of people think that, depending on what kind of business it is, if it's more artistic or beauty or fashion or in that creative direction, that it's okay to be colorful, but you can be colorful anytime. So if you guys check out her Instagram profile, she has this really simple logo. And that for me, it's a really great logo. I remember when she put it up, it was
Straight
like,
to the point. Yeah, I mean, yours is straight to the point too.
mine is a little bit, it's blue and white, but I started out with those colors because blue is my favorite color. And so there you go. I went with myself. I knew I wanted to go with blue, and I think Kat, you did the same with your logo. Are you going to change from this?
Well, I'm going between purple and pink, and
Great.
and I have this is what happens when you're owning a business and trying to figure stuff out. You use a million sticky notes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
they're everywhere. And then can you see this? These are drafts that my daughter drew for my logo.
Oh, great.
And so she's just coming up with these ideas. See, I can't tell if you could see. And so this just happens after you get into it and start figuring out what you want to do and what the company means to you. And when you're talking to people and doing that elevator pitch that Maria was talking about, it kind of gets embedded in your head, and then it just comes naturally, and then you start adding stuff to it and then revising it, and it just works. So you have to have a great mission statement and then follow the stuff that Maria was talking about with the branding.
Yeah.
And
They're
so
like, "Oh my God, it's so great that you have your," so she has someone there to help, but we don't all, I myself do not have someone
this
there.
has taken her for like forever to actually, this is just her sticky. I'm still waiting on the final product. I can't fire my child. Like you're missing the deadline, child.
I think your logo is going to be stunning. It's really pretty. I
Oh,
love
she's
it. And I
brilliant.
love that
She's
you're using
brilliant.
color.
It's awesome.
We're going to have to hold you to that. So we're going to come back eventually to your Instagram and your LinkedIn and find out what your final logo.
Yeah,
And
that'll be exciting.
yes.
Yay. So so continuing from branding, we are linking into our LinkedIn profile. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I'll let you take over on this question. So with LinkedIn and social media platforms, such as LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, people are still using Facebook, but not as much, I think. I think it's mostly Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. What should you do first? Do you think there's a recipe or an order? Do you think you should do your website first and then social media, or does it not matter?
That's the question that everybody has.
Yeah.
I guess everybody has it. So you don't have to do your website first if it just depends on what your niche is. Does that make sense? So if you're doing construction, for example, if you're a contractor that does construction, you might already have work and clients, so you're already trying to do stuff manually and getting invoices and projects, and you're just organizing yourself maybe on OneNote, like Maria mentioned. So you're doing all of that. So then that means your website might not have to come immediately. Okay. For people that are doing services, like Maria is with linguistics, how is she going to branch out? How are people going to get a hold of her? Are they going to go through social media? Or are they going to go through her website? How is she going to set it up? She's already set up. But if you were doing this, how would you set yourself up? Would you start with social media? Would you start with a website? So it definitely depends on the person, and there's no one right answer. When you're selling stuff like LuLaRoe, for example, that's clothing, right? There's a lot of moms out there and home entrepreneurs selling clothing. I like that style. I have a bunch of LuLaRoe. But you want to have a social media following for that type of business. Okay, you want a lot of people. You don't want to have probably a website right away, because you'll get that when you're processing the invoices. But in order for you to sell these products, you need to have people actually wanting to buy these clothes from you. So you have to build your online personality through your social media. Does that make sense? You're selling stuff. You want to get out there. You want to have people like you. You want to have people join your live selling shows. There's a lot of women out there on Facebook doing Facebook lives, having wine and shop. So that would be great. But like for businesses like what we have, consulting and business development, that is more of a website and then social media. That's how I would say. So yeah. So it definitely depends on the person. Would you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that was brilliant the way you summarized that. It really depends. And I think this goes back to my previous point. You want to know what you're doing and not follow other people's lead on this. You're going to need all of it. But you can only do one thing at a time. So what you start with is up to your greatest need. And I think Kat just did a brilliant job of laying that out with those examples. So I would refer to that, and you guys can always shoot us comments and questions if you aren't really sure, if you want some advice. But I would start with what your plan is. Like, what do you need most, and what are you going to do? What do you bring your customers and your clients?
Right.
That's going to decide what marketing is appropriate for you, not so much what everyone has done. Because, in on all honesty, we don't really know what people have put up first. I think we just see what we see first, but we don't know if they've put up their website or their social media first. I think if there's a large lag time, if you only have Instagram for, say, months, and you've started to attract customers and you don't have a website to go to, then it's apparent that you've started with social media. But in general, if you're moving, at a steady pace and you're getting everything set up, your entire online presence, and you happen to start with your Twitter or your LinkedIn first, and then you go do your website, it won't be as obvious that, like, oh, today
Right.
she has an Instagram and not a website, but tomorrow, we'll see what she has, and then come tomorrow, it's like, oh, now she has a website. I don't think people are going to follow that closely, but if there are months or, say, a year in between, people might take notice of that. But you have to decide. There are plenty of businesses that are only on Instagram, but is that appropriate for you? That's that kind of marketing. You have to figure out for yourself what you need and what you want to attract. For a while, I wasn't on Instagram, and for me, it was because of the type of work I was doing, and then I decided, okay, I did want to have an Instagram presence, so I brought my company to Instagram late. And some people advised against that, and some people understood it. So it really depends on what you want. But I was always on LinkedIn, and I always had a website. So it really just depends on you. What about you, Kat?
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't really care what people that I don't know are telling me to do. Like, I don't, no, I don't, because I never asked anybody what I should do first. I was just going with what makes sense.
And
So,
you
so
felt
this,
sure about
yeah, like the stuff that I'm sharing with.
it. Like, you want to be sure about it. You see how Kat was like, I was sure about what I was doing, like no questions
Yeah,
asked.
you want to know your audience, you want to know where you're heading, and so your audience is going to be in certain locations, and you want to target those locations. So setting up LinkedIn, setting up Instagram, being in that space
Hmm.
lets you market to certain groups of people. You hashtag on Instagram,
Yeah,
hashtag
and now LinkedIn.
follow people, get a comment on people's profiles from your business profile,
Hmm.
help suggest solutions to things, and then that's how you get your name out there, and people will start seeing it, and you're going to get more traffic. And this is all before you even have to buy anything from these websites to actually market yourself, right?
Yeah.
Facebook has a lot of marketing campaigns.
Hmm.
Instagram will immediately be like, hey, we can promote your post, pay this much per post. You don't need to do that right away.
Yeah.
I think creating content and
Hmm.
getting it up there is what's important to start with. And then when you're out there and you want to grow and reach more people,
Hmm.
then you can opt into all those options.
I agree. Yeah, that makes sense. So, with that said, attracting that audience, how would you advise people to go about attracting people to you, determining what's going to attract people to you? How do you figure that out?
So that goes with knowing your target audience. Have we made that clear? I
Yes,
feel like
sir.
we've said that like so many times during this
Yeah, this
podcast.
is going to be a redundant talk, but it's so important because believe me, if you don't have this ingrained in yourself, you're going to have to keep coming back to base one and learning, or you're just not going to move ahead as quickly as you might want to. Your goals may not be achieved as quickly as you want them to, or
Right.
as
And
smooth as you want them to.
do you want to hear something funny?
Yes.
So I start hashtagging and I put contractor, and then I put contracting businesses and stuff like that. And I get a bunch of real estate people reaching out to me, and construction company. Like,
We
wrong
talked about that.
audience. That
Yeah,
is
we
not
talked about
the
that in our last podcast, that contracting isn't exclusive to property and
right. So
construction, but for some reason, that's what the audience looks like.
right, right. And you just want to be specific with the people that you are talking about and understand the different terminologies. Like
Yeah.
Maria was giving you that example of consultant, and there's also business development, right?
Yeah.
And is there anything specific that you would say would go with yours?
Yes. So I differentiate myself from other people in the linguistic field by being specific about being in computational linguistics versus language analysis as a whole, or different areas of AI exist. Artificial intelligence goes with any industry in the world now, so I can't just put artificial intelligence. I have to be specific to linguistics or computational linguistics. I'm also not an interpreter, so I have to identify that and make sure that that is clear, that it's translation. I deal with visual and hard copy language sources only, not oral, such as this conversation. So that's a big thing. Or, when you watch Netflix or Hulu, you see subtitles, you see those kind of translated, that kind of audio translation, and even the actual audio translation that's done, voiceover work, that's a different area too. So I have to be careful to not put myself in that category in any way with what I put online, because that's not my area of expertise.
But that's brilliant. That was a perfect example of how
Yeah.
specific you need to get.
Yeah.
It's like you could just put linguistics, but then you're gonna get everything.
Yeah.
You don't want that. So that applies to a lot of different industries.
Yeah.
And we mentioned that they have different levels and they branch out. So Maria was talking about that
Yeah.
with life sciences. So very important. That's how you would attract the right audience, by
Mhm.
knowing your target audience.
Yeah. And it's better to take the time to figure that out first than to jump in and then have to clean it up later. So
Right.
if it takes you longer to get started, take that time and do it right versus having to backtrack and fix whatever wasn't as correct as it could be for you. I don't, you learn from every mistake. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. Just like I said, don't be afraid to be afraid. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. But I think there are some things that you can avoid just by taking your time and doing
Mm-hmm.
everything that Kat and I have mentioned so far, and going in that direction. And so I think that brings us to some other areas that, we're also going to follow up on in our next podcast, but dealing with online security. So you've put all of your business out there online, literally. And so cybersecurity is one of I think, the number one area of crime nowadays. Identity theft, passwords being hacked, profiles being hacked. I mean, I think we can all say that we, at one time or another, have received a message, or someone went through our account to send a message that was not us, pretending to be us on social media, or we've received it from other people where it's clearly not them, but they're like asking for money or something, or they say that they're stuck in another country, or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn will notify us that our account's being compromised. Google's been dealing with that. So making sure that you've taken the precautions to secure your website, have encrypted email, which you can easily do through Gmail, and a lot of the website platforms that offer you email services, they do offer encryption with the different types of websites that you're creating. So that's something we'll get more into in our next podcast. But also, financing yourself. How are you going to start from the ground up? And that's, something else that we'll build upon. But those are your next steps. So how are you actually going to fund this? Do you have any overhead? Can you minimize your overhead? What does your financial profile look like? Kat spoke about a business plan. Do you know how much money you need? Do you know how much money you would like to get started? Do you want investors? Have you already decided what kind of business you're going to be, as far as your tax designation with the IRS and with your state or your country? If you're not in the U.S., if you're in a country overseas, have you already decided what kind of business you're going to be? Do you have partners? Are you just an independent contractor? So the designations go on, and you want to do your reading and do your research. And it goes back to your list and your dream. Like, what do you see this becoming? And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how do you see the company growing? And so there are tax designations, for example, setting yourself up as an LLC and then designating yourself as an S Corp or C Corp. or setting yourself up directly as either one of those, S Corp or C Corp, where you can have a board, you can have shares, you can go public. If that's the direction you want to go in, you can already set that up from the beginning, and those articles of association specific for that kind of freedom within the corporation are already there. You can always change it. You can start out as a sole proprietor, and then become a corporation. So you have flexibility in how you can maneuver from your business structure when it comes to your finances and taxes from today to the next year, but you want to be clear on what those are. Do not at all be ignorant about your finances or what your tax designations are or what the structure of the company is. You don't want to have the IRS or a lawyer or a financial expert constantly telling you about your business. At some point, after you've done the basic, you consult with them initially, like the IRS. Although a lot of people hate them, they do give you a lot of information over the phone. So don't be afraid to call the IRS or any tax authority within your country. Don't be afraid to
It's money, it's dollar bills.
money.
Take care of your money.
Take care of your money. Yes. Also, don't be afraid to do a quick consult with a lawyer online. You can get sometimes 15-minute consultations for free, or you can get a low cost consultation that may be 30 minutes or an hour or even longer, and get all of this basic information that I'm talking about from the get go. But then at some point, you don't want those authorities and those experts, legal experts, financial experts, accountants, constantly telling you about your business. You need to know as much about your business as they would, if not more, because it's your business. So initially, we don't start out knowing everything, but eventually you want to go get the information and then learn it yourself. There is so much information online. You just have to take the time and bring it all in and look at it. I can't say it enough. Like, take the time to just understand what it is. And, if that means you work slower initially, do that. There is nothing wrong with taking your time and then being able to build momentum versus having to slow down because you didn't do the prep work initially.
Just to add to that or clarify, we're not saying don't start. Do your research. We're saying start and research. This is all happening simultaneously. Okay,
Yeah,
you're doing your research and doing the steps as you go. Because if you this is what happened to me. I read so many books. I have hundreds of books in my library, hundreds. Okay. It took like 5 years for me to get the guts to actually get out here and do anything. So you don't want to be like me. You don't want to do that. You want to be like Maria and jump right, which is awesome. And Maria is very, careful, calculated. She thinks about these things. She literally is sharing the information that she's learned as she's gone through this process. So with me now, since I've already read all that stuff, my thing is take action or you're not going to take action. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So learn as you go.
Thank you for bringing that up, Kat. This does not mean don't get started. This is you getting started.
Yes.
I really feel you can't get started without it because what are you doing? I feel like you'd be running in circles. So Kat took the time to gather all this information before she got started, which is not a bad thing. But it took her longer to get started than she wanted to. But now she has the information. She didn't not go get the information. So, don't not go get.
You have to get the information.
Get the information. Don't not go get it just because you want to get started doing something. Because then you're going to be busy, really busy.
Right. Life happens. You might have a baby. You might get married. You might move somewhere. A pandemic might happen. Did that ever happen?
Yeah, there's no time like the present, guys, to really do some information gathering and take action at the same time. So, but I think that we can take all of this and encourage you guys to come to us or stay tuned for the next one because Kat and I are going to be back next week. We're going to be talking about cybersecurity, so please tune into that because that is a huge topic.
That's going to be fun.
I myself have been hacked in so many ways that are just, some of them are painful, some of them are laughable.
I don't want, I'm so scared to hear about the painful ones. Oh my
The
gosh.
painful one was I took a financial loss. I got hacked in a way that I did not know I could get hacked, and I had to go and reach out to cybersecurity professionals, and I ended up having to get the police involved. That may or may not ever happen to you guys, but I can share my experience. So I hope that you'll be here next week to hear about that. And then I've also, there's been some funny stories. Kat and I together went through a hacking at a contractor that we were both working
Mm-hmm.
with. There's only so much we can share with you guys about that because we are tied to NDAs about that situation. But some of them are just more inconvenient than anything. It's just annoying that people are so persistent in trying to take over your life on the internet. So it's not all going to be a sad story, but some of it's funny. I think it's always bizarre when I get emails about people's purses having been snatched in a foreign country when I know that they're like down the block. So, I think there's some tips that we can share with you guys about that. So,
Okay.
any closing remarks, Kat, before we close?
No, I think it's exciting. We're gonna learn about cybersecurity, how to protect yourself, how to protect your customers, your
Yeah,
clients.
yeah,
There's a lot of regulations out there from major companies and the government now.
yeah,
So we want to make sure that you're protected. And also, as you're starting out, for example, you want to know what settings to set up initially to make
yeah.
sure that you're secure. Like Maria was mentioning the email, there's the encryption.
Hmm.
You want to start with that. And you
Yeah,
want to do a cloud type of maybe storage, maybe that
yeah.
has security.
Kat, you have tons of information on that too. So, Kat, please come back for that next week. Kat can definitely get into detail
We
about
may
that.
have to make it a longer podcast. Oh my gosh. That's gonna be a lot.
We might need
But
to
it's
do
not gonna
one
be
per quarter.
overwhelming. We're
Yeah,
yeah, we understand that not everybody has time to pay attention to everything.
yeah.
It'll be
But
great.
well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we hope that this information was helpful. And again, we are here. You can DM us, you can email us. All of our information is on our profiles, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Leave your comments below. If you have any suggestions or requests for a podcast that we do, let us know.
Send it.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my stickies.
Yes, and please share with others. We are hoping to build an audience where we can talk about more topics that all of us want to discuss and that we all would like to hear about or that we wish that we'd heard about sooner. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you
All
for
right.
joining.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye, Kat. Thank you.
Bye.